Croatia, 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 Croatia.
Hello and welcome to episode 6, the same as Star Wars this time around. We're playing the Croatian anthem, not because it has any relevance to Wilhelmine Germany, but because it was in the Balkans. The Balkans, which will be the bulk of our episode today.
And remember that actually Croatia is not that, even though it was part of the Balkans, it's not really that relevant to this period of Balkan history. So scrap the whole Croatia thing. If you want to learn more about Croatia, check the 1990s. Good period.
Yeah. But in general, I will add that Croatia is one of my favourite national anthems. But again, that has no relevance. Don't quote me on that in your exam.
Okay, so as we discussed in last week's episode, a lot of tension between the major powers of Europe. Russian-German treaty runs out.
Can I just point out, by last week's episode, we recorded that about
10 minutes ago.
About 10 minutes ago, but you know, let's not spoil the magic.
Okay, so as mentioned in the last episode, which you could be listening to at any point in the past. Maybe you were listening to this episode before the last episode. Anyway, so there's a lot of tension between the major powers of Europe, and Germany and Russia, their treaty ran out, so they're no longer particularly allied. And the key thing in the Balkans to remember is that they all want power, they all want land, and as the Ottoman Empire begins to disintegrate and they lose their grip over the Balkans, all these different powers, they want a piece of the action. So Remy, take it away.
So yeah, the Ottomans, who again literally are my people, their empire was declining, and the Slavic people, Serbs, Croats, Slovenes, they wanted to be independent and have their own state.
Just to remind you, the Ottomans previously had ruled over all the way up to almost Vienna, I believe.
Vienna.
So they were the dominant force in
were.
the Balkans. We're talking sort of 17th, 18th century here, but now their power is beginning to decline.
Exactly. Russia, they supported their fellow Slavs.
Pan-Slavic nationalism.
But they also saw it as an opportunity to expand Russian influence. However, Austria-Hungary wanted to control the Balkan Empire to expand wanted to control the Balkans to expand its empire, and to prevent a threat from Serbia and Russia.
So recipe for disaster here.
Basically,
two big empires wanting the same piece of land.
It's a shame.
The Germans basically supported the Austrians' sort of claim to the Balkans, and then that leads us very nicely into the first Bosnian crisis of 1908-1909.
Yeah, Bosnia. It's one of those places that there just seems to be a lot of beef over. It's not. I've been there. It's not particularly interesting. It's just mountains, but they're nice mountains.
Give them that much.
We'll give them that. So yes, in 1908, Austria-Hungary annexed Bosnia. It had actually administered it since before then, but it was under Ottoman control. But the Triple Entente demanded an international conference to
decide the future.
Yeah, to decide the future of Bosnia, but Austria-Hungary refused to cooperate with them, and Germany didn't want to alienate the Ottoman Empire because they actually had good relationships. Because they were declining, Bülow felt it was actually better to give their Germany support to Austria-Hungary,
which they also have an ethnic relationship to. The Austrians are sort of German speakers,
exactly.
So there is some kindred spirit there. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's complicated. Russia said it would support the annexation of Bosnia if Austria-Hungary recognised Russia's rights in the Dardanelles, which were an important shipping route. Eventually, Austria makes the ultimatum that had Germany's support that for Russia to recognise the annexation
or bear the consequences. So as you can see, it's all very complicated. Like, the Russians were willing to give up Bosnia if they got something in return. So it's not like everyone is completely inflexible, but the Austrians wanted to show their power over the Russians. And
as a result of it, it's actually a diplomatic success for Germany and Austria-Hungary, and it weakened highlighted the weaknesses in the Triple Entente.
Basically, in March 1909, Russia recognises the annexation and gives up on the Dardanelles. Dardanelles. So victory for Germany and Austria, you would think. But what are the consequences of such actions, Remy?
Well, it really alienated Russia and Serbia, which I would argue led to the Balkan War of 1912 to 1913.
I think it's also important to remember that if you're constantly, shoving things down people's throats, they're going to get angry with you.
They are.
And so this is just another action like the Moroccan crises that we talked about in episode 5.
Yes.
If you guys were there for that episode. Russia, France, Britain are all getting closer together because they fear that Germany is being more and more aggressive.
Boisterous.
Yeah. So, sorry. Balkan Wars.
Balkan War of 1912, 1913.
So we move forward a few years.
We do.
3 or 4 years.
So there was a pact between Serbia, Montenegro, Bulgaria, Greece. They created the Balkan League and they attacked the Ottoman Empire. They had some success, and they
gained quite a lot of land.
Yeah, they had nationalist ambitions, to create a greater Serbia, or a greater Balkan Slavic state.
So, but the problem is that Austria is not happy about this.
No.
As you would have, as the annexation of Bosnia showed, they wanted to get as much of the Balkans as they could.
Yeah, and they demanded that Albania remain an independence, so that Serbia couldn't have access to the sea.
Apparently, the sea is quite important in those days. Didn't have planes back in the day.
They had them, but they weren't very good.
Believe.
Yeah,
but plane travel just wasn't that. Anyway, sorry, I digress. So, where does Germany come to this? I hear you ask. Well,
it was worried about the growth of Serbia, and the Kaiser.
I think they knew that Milosevic would come along.
Yeah,
so they just tried to prevent the Balkan Wars. Of the
possibly they had noble ambitions, but in my opinion, this is when I begin becoming intolerant of the Kaiser. He goes, a war between Germandom and Slavdom is unavoidable, which quite frankly, in my opinion, is city speak. City spiel. Silly spiel.
So what does he do? He basically, along with the Austro-Hungarians, makes another ultimatum, I believe. Is that true, or am I just digressing slightly? I think I am.
Okay, this gets complicated. In May 1913, there was an international conference with all the great powers, and they were going to agree what the map of the Balkans and the balance of power would be like. For example, Albania was created, and that meant Serbia didn't get the land, the sea, which meant that Austria-Hungary were pleased. However, this treaty was inadequate. The Second Balkan War began in June 1913.
So, just to recap, First Balkan War, October 1912, when the Serbs and their Balkan League gained all the land.
Yeah.
It got revised slightly with the Treaty of London in May 1913, and then another Balkan War of June 1913.
Yeah, where Serbia invaded Albania.
Again.
And here's the ultimatum.
Sorry.
There you go.
In October of 1913, Austria-Hungary and Germany make the ultimatum to the Serbs. They have to retreat. And this is where things get a bit more complicated, because you think Serbia, quite a small country, Austria-Hungary, Germany, 2 massive empires. Naturally, the Serbs would have to retreat. But the Serbs have Russian support, a bit of Slavic nationalism, and Russia sees the interest of having a strong Serbia. But Serbia doesn't offer to support Serbia.
Russia doesn't offer to support Serbia.
So they have to retreat.
Yeah.
Serbs have no choice but to retreat. But again, so you think a victory for the Germans and for the Austrians in theory, but what are the consequences again of what the Germans have done with their aggressiveness is to just further alienate the Russians and further alienate the Russians and bring them close to the French and the British.
Which I believe brings us to the
famous events of 1914.
Yeah, which again I think warrant their own episode. So we're going to leave you there.
So just to recap, we have the 3. I'd say the 3, but maybe 2. Like depends how you look at things.
The Bosnia crisis,
the planks of the First World War.
Yeah. The First and the Second Balkan Wars. Listen to that over again. Look at your own notes, and hopefully you'll get a decent comprehension of it.
So we've got the arms race, the Balkan crises, and the Moroccan crises. Or I'd say the three big things which lead us into the fateful events of
1914
of Franz Ferdinand. You can listen to some Franz Ferdinand as well.
Yes,
I'd advise that.
Okay. See you later.
See you later, or next week, or tomorrow, or whenever you happen to listen to the next episode.
Okay. Goodbye.
Goodbye.